Well, hey there, freaks. Hope you're all doing well on this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday morning. Have an incredible long conversation for you with the CEO of Lolli, Alex Adelman. But before we get to that, I'd love to introduce you guys to this week's sponsor. You've heard about them before, BlockFi. Tax season is coming up fast, which means it's time to think about crypto taxes. I know we don't want to think about them, but we have to. Don't fall into the trap of selling your crypto to pay your taxes. BlockFi helps crypto investors by providing U.S. dollar funding using your crypto as collateral, preferably your Bitcoin. You get your crypto back at the end of the loan. It's that simple. BlockFi customers use these loans for anything from buying a home to funding a business. So visit blockfi.com/tales from the crypt to learn more about using your crypto without having to sell. That's blockfi.com/tales from the crypt. You freaks got a special offer there. Go check it out. Very excited for this interview with Alex. We had a great conversation, got a little drunk, got a little cosmic. I think you freaks are going to enjoy it. As a little disclaimer, I think I must say this. Lolli is a sponsor of both Marty's Bent and Tales from the Crypt, though I did not bring Alex on because he's a sponsor. Genuinely curious about Lolli and what they're doing, creating a consumer-facing business that works with Bitcoin and helps the world adopt and get Bitcoin into the hands of your everyday common man. So I think we had a great conversation. So I hope you freaks enjoy it.
Tales from the Crypt.
What is up, freaks? Welcome back to Tales from the Crypt. It's your boy Marty Bent here in a relegation studio on a shitty Tuesday night. It's terrible weather here in Brooklyn, New York. Sleeting. It's probably the worst weather you could probably get like in mid-February. But to warm up this cold February night, we've got a special guest here. Very excited to be speaking with this person. I want to introduce you freaks to Alex Adelman, CEO and founder of Lolli.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming, dude.
Is now the time to say it?
I guess.
What's up, freaks?
It was good. How'd it feel?
Pretty good. I can check it off my bucket list now, so thank you.
Well, thank you for saying what's up to the freaks, and thank you for coming on. For you freaks that don't know, Alex is a CEO and co-founder of Lolli, which is an online platform, a web extension that helps you shop at retailers and save money, basically get rewards back in Bitcoin. So before we dive into Lolli and everything that you're building right now, let's jump back. This is Tales from the Crypt. Looks like you have a very interesting story for how you ended up here. We did a little pre-interview prep. So how the hell did you find Bitcoin? How did you get to building Lolli?
Yeah, so I've sort of been on this, adult life mission to democratize commerce. I started, really getting into this idea of the democratization of commerce when I was in university. And I was studying economics, and I was looking at like microfinance, namely the Grameen Bank. And the Grameen Bank's one of their first studies and initiatives was to give the poorest woman in every city in Bangladesh a cell phone. And seeing what that did for how this trickle-up economics that occurred from empowering people and giving everybody the ability to be on the same platform and have access to opportunity really inspired me and started the gears turning about what I wanted to build and what I was most excited about. Backing up a little bit, just been building software since I was about 12. So as soon as my family got the
Really?
Family computer, yeah. Started building video games for friends, for myself, like comic book related, bunch of different styles. Basically, like, if you remember Game Maker at all?
I do not.
So it was like early Glitch. It was like the first like drag and drop kind of Game Maker out there, and it sort of like tricked you into coding. So got to do that first. Loved like making something that somebody used, and kind of almost like an extension of like going from art, Legos, Connects, right into the computer and like building something was really fun.
What were these games like? Are they like RPG? Like
Yeah, a lot of RPG. There wasn't a ton of flexibility. It was a lot of like single character sprites, 2D. You could code them to shoot things and capture things, eat things. It was pretty simple, but really really fun. And actually, my co-founder of Cosmic, Pearson, we would like spend all weekend building these games. We would go sell them at school. Sort of early entrepreneurial venture, if you will.
What was that hustle like?
It was good. It was.
Right.
I think we sold them for like $1 or something like that. I don't think we made much money, but it was fun to have like people.
How do you hand off those games? Like a file on a USB or a floppy disk at that time, or?
I want to say we burned it onto a DVD or
some.
Yeah, one of those DVD burners. I think I got it external. Yeah, it was good.
That's seems like a bit more laborsome than like a mixtape or something like that.
I should have just gone full SoundCloud back in the day.
Yeah.
SoundCloud rapper. Yeah, that was my mistake.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, it was fun.
So did you go to UNC? Like you studied economics, but was sort of development and engineering always like with you while you're studying, or?
Yeah, I always kind of looked at. I never really looked at it as like I never really got excited about the academics of computer science, and I also, truthfully, was an awful engineer. I was like terrible. Like I think I played around with JavaScript, but I actually found that I really enjoyed like building bigger and bigger platforms that served more people, and I think I can't remember the client. Actually, I do remember the client. It's somewhat relevant. I can say this. I was building a back-end education platform for Remington Gun Company.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they were a client in North Carolina, and I remember like building this platform, and they wanted it in .NET, and I was like, I am not going to learn .NET, and so I remember like assembling a team of like 3 or 4 engineers all across the country, maybe even might have been one in Ukraine. And building this like back-end platform to like teach the internally people about all the different guns that they had and how like the safety capabilities, how to talk about them publicly. It was a pretty cool platform. But that was sort of I think my first project where I was like, okay, I cannot build this, and I need a team to build it, and the end product came out better. And so I just sort of got I think the bigger the projects, the bigger the impact. I wanted to keep going bigger, and I realized like I think I was better at the on the client side and actually the design, the product side than I was ever being an engineer. So
product management's a fascinating thing, and like the whole concept of user experience design. So I call it like the UX bug in like 2014, and like it still fascinates me to this day because there's a lot of psychology behind it, and basically the study of human decisions and why they make those decisions, and designing flows and spatial sort of settings and visual cues to sort of design a complete experience is something that I don't think a lot of people appreciate at the end of the day.
Yeah, so sort of flip the script. What's your favorite app right now?
Twitter. Yeah. Twitter's been number 1 for a while, and
that's how we met.
Yeah, it's how we met.
It's our origin app.
Yeah, I'm pretty boomer when it comes to apps. Like I only have a few that I use. I don't like to go beyond it. I probably use less than 10 apps a day, I would say.
What does it take for someone to get you to download an app?
That's a good question. I mean, it just has to have utility.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty basic. Like I like hanging out with my friends and family, so I like experiencing the real world beyond it. Even though my wife would argue that I am addicted to Twitter, looking at it too often. But yeah, I really like to. I don't know. I'm very manual with things. I don't like to set processes via apps and stuff like that. So after Twitter, my favorite app's probably Spotify. Just listen to music all day.
Good tunes right now.
Yeah, got it on shuffle right now. Hopefully the mics aren't picking it up. I don't think they are.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a simpleton when it comes to apps like that. But I do think I don't want to say a rare case, but
I think that's good. I think it's like good to have a filter. I mean, seeing like everything could be somewhat exhausting, and I think you lose touch with the real world. I always like get back to the basics, and like I go through like if I'm building something new, I'm like, I need to get inspired and I need to download a bunch of apps and see something I haven't seen before. But I think a lot of times it's just like, back to basics. Like what are humans doing in real life, and then how do you build technology around that?
Yeah, right. That's a very prescient theme for the quote unquote industry that we're in, right? Because that's been my biggest gripe for a lot of the sort of ambitious projects in the space, is a lot of utopian developers building tools for each other. And that's why I wanted to bring you in, because I think what you're building at Lolli is very practical and a great way to onboard users to Bitcoin. But again, before we get to Lolli, I know you have a story about how you ended up there. And am I okay to assume that description of developers designing things for other developers is apt?
Yeah, I think that it had to come first. Mm-hmm. You need the developers to build for developers, and that's, I think, extremely important for the space. The infrastructure needs to be there so that I think people like me and my team can come and build on top of that. Mm-hmm. And I think, like, I'm so grateful for the road work that has been laid out for us to just run and play freely on top of their rails. And so, yeah, I'm really like thankful for that. But at the same time, I think we're hitting this point where we've all, the entire space has done a ton of work. And now it's like, how do we bring this to the masses? How do we get the world using Bitcoin and get people excited about it the same way that they get excited about Twitter, same way they get excited about other fun apps that make up your top 10?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have to get people as excited as we are about it, which is like proving not impossible, but it is hard. It's hard to get people to, it is, because I believe to get excited about this, you have to question things that you assume are sort of never going to change or objective truth. And there's a lot of hard questioning and mental rewiring, if you will, to sort of get excited about this stuff. But let's talk about Cosmic and what you were building there, because it seems that like once you figured out what Bitcoin was, you got excited about it and sort of started building a business around it.
Yeah. So I was studying economics in school, and like I said, got really excited about microfinance, enabling people, and kept thinking about this idea of how do you give everybody in the world the ability to buy and sell anywhere, and put everybody on this like equal playing field. Or at least give everyone the same opportunities to be on the same playing field. And so my team and I started building what we thought was a universal shopping cart. And this cart was going to live everywhere you were. It was going to be browser extension. It was going to be embedded as a JavaScript widget into sites. And anywhere you went on the web or mobile, you were going to be able to add something into your cart and buy it. Mm-hmm. So it was a two-sided marketplace. We had retailers on one side, and then we had consumers on the other that were buying, and then publishers as well. So it was a complicated business model to start with, and I think that a lot of it came out of naivety. We didn't really know what we were doing, but I think with any project I've ever taken on, we just sort of, or like me and my team, just sort of run at it and figure it out along the way. And so age like 22, knew very little about like building a business. I would say we knew a good amount about like how to build it, and I think we built something really powerful. But in kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, like understanding the consumer was one of my biggest learnings. And we were about like 6 to 9 months in and realized that the world didn't need a universal shopping cart. Mm-hmm. We were talking to users, we were interviewing like grandmas in Omaha, and like they were like, I want my Kohl's Cash. How do I get my Kohl's Cash?
My favorite UX persona is the grandmas in Omaha.
They're the best. And I was it's a fun story, and I'll get there, but I was literally in Omaha talking to grandmas. It was amazing. Incredible. So, so we just like set out building this thing called Cosmic Cart at the time. And
huge fan of the name. We love to get Cosmic here at Tales of the Crypt, so huge fan of the name.
Awesome, thank you. Space is my jam. Space and now lollipops, candy. So I'm sure there's some intersection there at some point in the future.
Oh, definitely. There's definitely some anime intersection there somewhere. Out there in the world.
Yeah, something like that. So, so on this universe, we were trying to build the universal shopping cart. Talked to hundreds of retailers by this point and realized like they didn't want a branded cart that like lived everywhere. That was Amazon. And everybody was like, how do we fight Amazon? So what we built is we white labeled it for all these retailers, and we gave them a channel to sell into other channels. Still keeping with the mission of democratizing commerce and creating this abstraction layer on top of all these different platforms. So we integrated to Magento, Shopify, IBM, ATG, Hybris, you name it. Still giving everybody the ability to sell anywhere into any channel. And we were this abstraction layer that let you pay with any payment provider, any credit card, any debit card, anything. And wherever you were, whether in a magazine, app, ad, video, you could buy natively.
Okay.
So it was a really cool technology. And we had some really fun stories along the way. I'll be sort of brief with them, but we were building in North Carolina. We went out to Las Vegas to like go to this thing called Magic Marketplace, and we had gone through, it sounds bad, but we had gone through 5 CTOs at this time, and each one of them like couldn't build what we wanted to build. And so I had just found Matt, which I'll help, he's this, co-founder of Cosmic, co-founder of Lolli, like I would say my like partner in crime with like probably everything I have built and will build.
It's always good to have a PIC.
Exactly. and he does all the hard work. He's incredible, brilliant.
Did you guys meet at UNC?
No, we met on Google Plus.
Boss.
Yeah.
Wow. One of the few.
Maybe the only good thing to happen on Google Plus.
One of the few connections on Google Plus. I love it.
Yeah, we were in each other's circles. I think we were on the technology circle, the North Carolina circle, Java circle, like you name it. We just had a lot of overlaps.
I love that. That's a first. It's a Tales from the Crypt verse.
And probably a last.
Google Plus.
Yeah. First and last. Cheers to that. So yeah, I met Matt, and Matt came in as like our third engineer at the time, and he was building like which is relevant now, this like privacy application called Frame that did bank level encrypted photo sharing and video sharing, I believe too.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was like Snapchat on steroids. And it's kind of cool to think about, like, when I met him, I was like, we're going into payments, we're going into commerce, we need privacy, we need security. I care deeply about that, and it was good to, align on just sort of morals and the ethics of privacy and security. So that was like a good alignment. He came in and in 2 weeks built a prototype for Cosmic. I was out in Las Vegas going booth to booth to booth, selling this dream. We ended up signing up 72 merchants that were interested in using this technology. So fast forward a little bit, built out the technology, ended up landing or getting some investment in Omaha, Nebraska, of all places. It was not...
It was the Oracle of Omaha?
It was sort of like... So there's a lot of people that like are Berkshire babies. Their parents bought them like Berkshire Hathaway stock, and like they've done really well. And there's whole books about this, like these families.
There's a Berkshire trust fund mafia going around.
It was a Berkshire mafia. It was like, we like this idea, we want to invest in it. So I met this investor, and I was like crashing in my friend's mom's second cousin's house. She
always where you want to be.
Baked me cookies for my future investors. I brought them to the office. And we hit it off, and they invested in our company. And we had the only issue, and no offense to Omaha, was we had to build in Omaha for 3 months. And so I think that like I love Omaha, but that was good for me.
A long 3 months.
It was a long 3 months. Got to see everything in Omaha. It was really interesting. Stories for another day, probably.
Yeah.
So 3 months after building, and it was good to be heads down. They were incredible investors, mentors. They had built a company called Hay Needle, and we learned a ton while being there. And great people, nice people, loved it there. Did a ton of like Midwest interviews, and coming from North Carolina, it was good to sort of compare and contrast. Like, what are real people doing? And I think I learned this from my family. My mom was a child developmental specialist. My dad was a psychotherapist. I was brainwashed as a kid. And so I think, like, around, like, the dinner table, it was just like, how are you? What's what's going on in your life? Like, how was your day?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like we talked about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that encouraged me to like, and this is actually, interviews are weird now because it's normally like, I feel like I'm the one asking
Switching
questions.
the table. Yeah.
So thank you.
I'm happy you brought that up because as somebody who was born in Northeast Philadelphia, a very ragtag neighborhood, grew up with a potty mouth and fought a lot. And then we moved to Charleston, South Carolina when I was
no way.
10 or 11 and lived there for 4 years.
How were those Johns?
There's Johns. The Johns are always good.
Okay, good.
Whenever you're Johning with a John, it's good. Okay. But yeah, we moved from Philly down to South Carolina, and that was a bit of a culture shock. Like, I realized, like, holy shit, people do things differently down here. It was a lot different. You had to say yes, ma'am, yes, sir. You had to shake hands and look people firmly in the eye. You weren't allowed to have potty mouth.
Hey, y'all love it here. Yeah.
And then when we lived there for 4 years, and then moved back to the Philly area, and that was like another culture shock. I was just getting used to South Carolina. I was like, oh my God, back in Philly. And then stayed in Philly for like 5 years, then went off to college in Chicago. But through those journeys, like, you realize that people around the country, like even in just one country in the United States, think completely differently, like in different areas of the country. And it's mind-blowing, especially if you don't get out your geographical bubble and experience it, especially like living in these places for an extended period of time. You don't really realize that it is a melting pot, and there's like crazy differences all throughout the country.
Yeah, you nailed it. I think that's like the source of all my inspiration for anything I've built is like building it for real people that are, and like real people are everywhere, but it's like, what are the common factors that make up those people, and they're like the insights that they have and the things what do they feel, and like really honing in on that and what matters. It's like, I mean, we could get into the election, we could get into a lot of ideas about like where the world is right now, but understanding people, I think, is so important and is probably the biggest lacking thing in the world. It's right? It's really sad, and it's I think that's one of something I think about like just about every day is like, am I building this for people that need it? Yeah.
No, it's something I think about every day. I mean, and I'm not building a product like you, but like writing to an audience, it's like I definitely write to like a Northeast bro, or that type of
Northeast freak.
Yeah, Northeast freak. But it is something I'm always hyper cognizant of. Like, maybe I'm constricting my message a little bit by having a certain voice, but no, these are interesting problems, and this is why I like building products. And I think what you guys did at Lolli's made it so simple and so straightforward that anybody, regardless of what your preference is around the country, gets it so innately. Like, it's a great UX process.
Thank you.
So let's jump into Lolli. I think it's a great time to jump into Lolli. And so you guys were building Cosmic, and you basically found Bitcoin. You said 3.
Yeah, so I was crashing on couches in New York, actually.
Yeah.
I think while I was living in Minneapolis. And I... backing up real quick, I moved from Omaha to Minneapolis because we landed Target. Mm-hmm. We were a week in. I'll be quick with the story and then get back into it.
No, hey, we got plenty of time here.
Okay, cool. So I moved to Minneapolis because Target said they were interested in Cosmic, and moved up there. I was staying in like a hostel, not like a hostel, was a hostel, and ended up negotiating a deal with Target. A week into landing Target, team of 3. Pull up Reddit, 8 a.m., and we had signed our lives away to for their full API access, and biggest credit card breach of all time. 40 million credit cards breached. I turned to Matt and I was like, did we do that? And he was like, no, I hope not. I don't think so. And we got interviewed by Secret Service. It was
really
it was fucking crazy.
Holy shit!
Probably one of the craziest days. I hope to never live that day again.
It's like Wolf of Wall Street when his second day of work is like Black Monday.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was wild. So turns out we had nothing to do with it.
Thank God.
And it ended up being like sort of this blessing in disguise. We ended up getting to like. I think for about 9 to 12 months, we were the only company in the space that was like building it the right way and building it the secure way. We were a team of 3 that survived the Target breach. Is sort of our claim to fame in the commerce world. Mm-hmm. And so we got to go to all these retailers and say, hey, we built this the safest. We we were going to continue to build it with these sort of standards. And so, yeah, we had like a really fun year. This brings me into like, I was crashing on couches in New York. I was trying to like, keep this business going, keep this, the dream alive. And I remember like I was on a trip here and randomly was at a bar and through a friend of a friend met Ryan Shea.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan Shea, I'm pretty sure had just learned about Bitcoin at this point or was very new to it.
Yeah.
Because he was like, he had just gotten the bug. Yeah. And like I think any of us here like had heard it from somebody, you get that bug and you see it. It's like in their eyes. And he was like, we talked about it for like 2 hours. And was
this pre-Namecoin?
Yeah. So it must have been 6-7 years ago. So yeah, pre-Namecoin. And yeah, it was a great conversation. And I was like, everything that I was building at the time and building towards, I was like, this sounds so similar. It sounds like the democratization of commerce native to a currency. And I was like, that's really fucking cool. And so brought it back to my team and I was like, can we do this? Can we build this into Cosmic? And it just never made sense. And like retailers had no idea what I was talking about. It goes back to kind of like listening to your customer. It was way too early. And there was no real like financial reason to build it in. And it just really wouldn't have worked. So I actually didn't even invest in it, and I clearly wish I did. But I just kept like looking at it, researching it, keeping tabs on it. And I think probably like a year or two later is when I first I bought a Bitcoin. And I think it was when Coinbase came out, to be perfectly honest. Mm-hmm. So Coinbase came out, and I was like, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to have some skin in the game. And so I bought it. I think some of my teammates bought it. And we just all I think we're personally very interested in Bitcoin. It was like so fucking cool. And can I cuss on here? Is this?
Yes, you can cuss as much as you want.
Okay, cool. Just make sure. So yeah, just got really interested in it, kept following it over the years. Sort of it ran in parallel with sort of our mission with Cosmic. After Cosmic started to do pretty well. We raised another round of financing. We ended up landing some more retailers, landed a big customer called Pop Sugar, came in.
Oh, I know Pop Sugar.
Yeah, they're amazing company. One of the only profitable media companies right now that's figured out the model, and they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I think the company I used to work for not way back in the day, but ages ago, we did CMS building. I think we helped them.
Oh, cool.
Some contract CMS work for their Drupal site. Yeah. That's
awesome. Yeah. Brian and the executive team over there, and really the whole team is just amazing. I'm they've built a real business. They speak to a real person, and yeah, it's just authentic.
Right.
It's literally it's Brian and Lisa Sugar. They started it from this place of truth. They just were building it for themselves and for Lisa. And yeah, they've just built an incredible business. I learned so much from both of them, and I'm so thankful. So I should back up. They ended up acquiring Cosmic to come and power ShopStyle, which was doing over $1 billion in retail revenue at the time. So Cosmic was going to power this future of native commerce for them. So we ended up going with the acquisition, building it for a year, growing about 10x post-acquisition, and yeah, building out the dream. And then a bigger company came along called Ebates, Rakuten, and they ended up buying us
I
and
had the
ShopStyle.
Ebates extension at one point.
Yeah, cashback.
Yeah.
Big fat check. Did you ever get the big fat check?
No, I don't think so.
The Midwest loves the big fat check.
Yeah.
And hopefully at some point they'll love the big fat Bitcoin. So that's the dream at least. So I ended up working at Ebates for about a year. The CEO that bought us ended up leaving, changed of direction. I ended up pitching them Bitcoin back, and they didn't know what I was talking about and weren't really into it. So ended up parting ways with them and started to it took some time off and started to think about what I wanted to build. And started went back to Omaha, went back to Minneapolis, went back to Chicago, North Carolina. and really started to think about like what I wanted to build and like explored a lot of ideas, but I kept coming back to this idea of, I guess at the time, crypto. I was like, this is so exciting. Mm-hmm. This enables people. It's like gives everybody the ability to be on a similar playing field. It is the democratization of commerce. And so many things had come out since learning about Bitcoin. And I remember like meeting up with Arjun Balaji, and we were walking around Washington Square Park.
Okay.
And I was on and on about like all the things you could do with smart contracts and Ethereum, and I was on this big Ethereum kick. Matt was like, my co-founder of Cosmic, was like building in Solidity, and we were playing with like a bunch of different ideas in that space. And Arjun was like, when was the last time that you read the Satoshi white paper? And I was like, I don't think I've read it for probably 2 years, and if I'm being honest. And so like he was like, read it and like think about getting back to basics. And think about like what are you doing that the world needs right now? And it was a really good like gut check and realignment. I went back home, like read the white paper again, and was just like, this thing, Bitcoin has not seen its full potential. It's out there, it exists, it is this truth that I like first fell in love with, and yet the biggest problem that I think it faces is the distribution problem.
What do you mean by the distribution problem?
People don't know about it. People don't have it. It's like, how do you get it into people's hands? How do you educate people on self-sovereign money, free money, like the freedom of owning money? Like people don't know about it. And so my mom had been asking me about it. My sister was asking me about it. I'm on these text threads from friends from back home in North Carolina and Omaha. People were like, hey, how do I get this Bitcoin thing? How do I get crypto? Like, what do I do? And I've never been one to give financial advice to anybody, and I didn't feel comfortable giving it because it's such a volatile asset. Like, would I give somebody financial advice for a stock that I wasn't confident about, that I had no control of? Probably not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
So what I took a step back, and after talking with a lot of people, I was like, what am I good at? What is my team uniquely great at? And what do I care about? And I just kept coming back to this idea of like, we can build Ebates. We can recreate Ebates and do it for Bitcoin. And Ebates is arguably the best way of distributing cash. They're the best cash back company in the country and maybe the world. And how do we do that? But instead of giving cash back, give people Bitcoin when they shop online. So I started talking to retailers, and I went out and just like a madman, like kind of got these like flashbacks from early days of Cosmic of like this tenacity that I had when I first started building, and just like started reaching out to all my old friends, all my old contacts at all these different retailers. And I was like, what do you know about Bitcoin, and why would it matter to you?
How did these old contacts react when you first reached out?
A lot of them were like, what's Bitcoin? And that sort of was a great...
Like had never heard of it, or like, all right, I'm ready to learn. Can you explain it to me?
Had either never heard of it, or like had mixed opinions of what they had heard about it from like the mainstream media. And so a lot of it was like education and realigning what Bitcoin was to them. And I remember I was on this call with...
I like how you said that, realigning how it was. Because a lot of people get tripped up with the mainstream narratives, and it is a realignment, right?
It totally is. It's how do you take something that somebody understands and help them understand what you're trying to give them.
Yeah,
it's like, help me help you.
It's like peeling back the onion. You have to peel back the onion and then put it back together with like a better onion, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, we're the onion of Bitcoin. Yeah. So it's basically like started to really listen to them, and what they kept saying is like, how do you bring me customers? How do you bring me new shoppers? He's like, I remember I was on this great call with Hotels.com, and this entry-level employee there, he kind of like, he just sort of blurted out in the meeting, and he was like, so it's like points, but instead of points, there's no barriers, and you're turning Bitcoin into points. And I was like, whoa, that is good.
That sounds great to me, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, that's it. I was like, thank you. I am going to use that. And that started that gave me this ammunition to go to all these other retailers and align points are great for retailers. I personally think that they're bad for consumers because there's all these arbs that they run, and there's sort of this the retailers are gaming the system so that you don't spend them and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And for him to say basically points without borders or rules, it's it realigned it's you are giving people points. They're earning this Bitcoin. They're excited to earn this Bitcoin, and they can take that Bitcoin and use it anywhere in the world.
And then I'm a bit ignorant of this part of the industry in particular. Is it also good for the retailers where we don't have to deal with the point system at all? And
exactly.
Okay.
They are not locked in to the other point systems that have been created by the retailers, by the airlines, by all these other rewards networks, because they're locked into those ecosystems. This is sort of an abstraction layer of a loyalty system. It's be loyal to Bitcoin. The loyalty layer is on Bitcoin, and it's not on anything else. It's beautiful. It's how do you get people loyal to Bitcoin? And Lolli is the rails to get people loyal to Bitcoin.
I love that. And so the probability that your miles or points would become worthless over time is probably a lot higher than, Bitcoin's still a long shot, but hypothetically, if Bitcoin were to become a widely used digital currency, it probably would sustain value more than those points. Am I correct in assuming that?
Points go down as soon as you get them. It's deflationary. It's centralized. Points are controlled by, they can make those points whatever they're worth, or whatever they think they're worth. And it's just an arb. I think a lot of people don't understand. It's why things the points guy exists. He's trying to help you with the arb.
Utilize them right away. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's all these games online. It's points are a game. It's this funny thing that people try to game, but at the end of the day, you're getting gamed.
Oh, it goes beyond online where people are getting people to set up bank accounts in foreign countries and arbing internationally and stuff like that. There's a whole racket to the point system.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I really shouldn't hate on points too much because we built our model to actually work on top of points. So you can get your points and you can get your Bitcoin is sort of something I should make very clear. I think that the points exist, and I think points are good for certain merchants. But for the end consumer, I think Bitcoin is better than points. It has value.
Yeah. If given the choice, I would hope people would choose the sounder store value over time. But we'll see. Having the option, that's what I wrote about in the. I didn't write about this specifically, but I mentioned it today in the newsletter. Is that Bitcoin presents an optionality. At least 10 had not existed 1 decade before today. So that optionality is there, and now you can extrapolate that to points and retail shopping too. It's hey, do I want the points or do I want Bitcoin? Now I have the option, which I think is a great segue into how does this all work? What are the mechanics behind it? How are you guys providing the service? How are you basically valuing how much Bitcoin people get per transaction or per purchase? Excuse me. Very fascinated to hear more about that.
Yeah, so we go to the retailer and we say, we are going to bring you a unique customer. We're going to bring you someone that might not have shopped at your site, and when we bring them that shopper, we want to reward that shopper for being loyal to Bitcoin, for being loyal to Lolli. The retailer likes that because they're getting a new shopper that might not have shopped at their site. And we like that because we're getting to reward our users time and time again every time that they shop across all these different verticals. And then clearly the shopper likes that because they're getting something, they're being rewarded with something, and they have this positive connotation with both the reward, Bitcoin, and the retailer. So it's sort of I'm not trying to sugarcoat it, but literally everybody wins in our model, which is part of the beauty of the cashback model that I give credit to Ebates. They've been building a company for 20 years and they nailed it. It's good.
And that's another theme of this podcast, Bitcoin's incentives sort of compound like in every layer, and like just like the incentives of the setup like work for everybody. It seems that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like how would it not, like what's the biggest knock on Lolli, I guess? Like
Yeah. So first of all, I love that you brought up like incentives at every layer.
Yeah.
And let's like I would love to talk about that for a second, because
could jump into it.
like when I first learned about Bitcoin, like I think that it was before Coinbase, so it was like the only way that I knew to get into it was mine it, and I was like, I don't know about buying a miner. Like, it's a lot of work. Like, I'm running a company. Like, I got a lot going on. I'm like I didn't have the bandwidth. And I would say like I was the target market to mine. Like, I love building computers. I love building software. Like, and I wasn't going to do it. And so mining is like at its core is like there's a set amount of the population that is going to do it. And like when we go back to like what we were saying earlier, like thank you to all the miners out there for building the infrastructure, for like letting us build on top of what you're building, and like it has to exist. But I'm not going to do it. My mom's not going to do it. My friend's grandma in Omaha's not going to do it. Like, yeah.
I wanted to interrupt because I thought of a great analogy for this over the weekend. As you may know, if you read the band, I'm a huge college lacrosse fan, and basically lacrosse goalies are the miners of the lacrosse world. You have to be a little crazy, you have to be a little out there, you have to be a little risk-taking to be a lacrosse goalie. And as a lacrosse player, anybody who's ever played lacrosse knows that you thank your goalies because they're taking a huge risk, getting a rubber ball pelted at them at like 115 miles an hour. Goalies are the miners of the lacrosse world, and the miners, that's what they're just like eating it on the chin, but they're like crazy nuts. They're like, I want to do this. I need that clean Bitcoin.
So I have a
sports
similar analogy, and I like that we're going with analogies. So I played rugby in college, and there's a position called the hooker, and it's a real position. It's not a made up name, and literally their job is they're in the middle of the scrum. And they've got like 800 to 1,000 pounds of pressure going from each side. And they're like in the dead center. And typically it's like a smaller guy. And their job is to hook. Like they hook the ball when the ball is fed in. They're just like these dudes break their necks. They like get, it's just a very injury prone position. But their job is to actually mine the ball so that your team wins possession. And so I would say like, similar analogy, the hooker is the miner, feeds it out, and then the like I was a back. I have a fond memory of like being a freshman, like coming from wrestling to rugby, and like being like there was an open position at a hooker because no one wanted to be the hooker, and it's actually oddly similar when I actually think about it. It's the first time thinking about it. I like raised my hand because I'm opportunist. I like am very excited if like I could be a starter for a position. I remember raising my hand because there was an open position, and one of the seniors grabbed me and was like, "You don't want to be a hooker." So probably similarly to like people being like, "Yeah, you don't want to mine. Like you're like just buy."
Yeah, you're better off just buying.
Yeah.
Back here on another layer.
So I like took the fullback position. I got to like get all the glamour, be the winger, get the score, the tries, and like wave to my girlfriend on the sideline. So yeah, it's kind of similar, but yeah, I like analogies.
Yeah. No, but let's get back to the specifics of like the incentives on these layers. Like it seems like for everybody involved, at least in the Lolli closed circuit, I guess, if you will, whatever you want to refer to it as, seems incentivized to participate in this system. And I guess let's just like keep building on like the incentives that compound on these other layers. Like, how did you notice this? And I think you came to the conclusion pretty quickly that this existed. And how hard is it to make these retailers see this incentive and understand it?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So I think there's like the layers on the consumer side are mining. Very few people are going to do. Investing, buying Bitcoin. Very few people are going to do as well. Like if you look at how many users that are on even Robinhood or E-Trade or anything on buying and selling stocks, it's a very small population. And I just looked at that and I was like, is that really, like, that's not going to solve the problems of Bitcoin. Like, that'll get it to, a few million people. Like, that's cool. Like, needs to exist. It's the next phase of the retail cycle, but it's not the end game. You're not going to have 7.5 billion people investing. Just like not the real world.
Yeah.
So I thought a lot, like deeply about just even like regardless of my experience, I was like sort of coming off an exit, two exits. I was like excited about building something new, and I was like, what am I going to build? Like, and I just kept coming back to this idea. I was like, shopping. Like, everybody fucking shops. Everybody has to buy things. Like, and it's not even about things. It's about experiences. It's about like buying things for your office, like buying office supplies, buying bourbon, buying things that you want, and like, you know, call it capitalism, consumerism, whatever, but it's utilities. Like, you need to fly to go visit your family. You need to go fly for work. Like, you need to stay in a hotel. Like, you should be able to buy something and get a reward for it. Like, that's the state of the world right now. Like, how do you get rewarded? Like, as a consumer, we can shop anywhere. We have the freedom of choice. And so how do you give somebody the ability to like get into Bitcoin and get a reward for shopping at this retailer? And started to go to, like I said, to these retailers and figure out like what they really cared about is shoppers, driving shoppers. And similar to the cosmic problem, how do they compete with Amazon? So everybody was like, how do I draw more customers away from Amazon? And so that's what we're doing. Like, we're letting you have choice, and we're saying you can shop at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of retailers for a ton of different, like just about every category, and buy something and earn Bitcoin when you shop. And you don't need to invest. You don't need to mine. You don't need to do that to play a part in this world that like we're in. And that's really exciting. So that's what we're building.
That sounds dope. And
thank you.
So how do like the mechanics of getting the Bitcoin to the user work? Do you guys have like a pool of funds that you're siphoning off, or are the retailers giving you a deal and you're using the cut of that deal to buy, market buy, and then get the reward? How do like the mechanics of the distributing of the Bitcoin work?
Yeah. So
if you're allowed to disclose.
Of course. Yeah. Transparency. So consumer buys something from the retailer. Retailer says Lolli drove the sale. They pay us in fiat. We buy Bitcoin and we send it to their Lolli wallet. They get Bitcoin, gets locked in. They own the Bitcoin. You know, I am a big believer, like, not your key is not your coin. So when you hit a certain threshold, $15 right now, you get to exchange that, send that to your own addresses if you want to, or you can cash it out for USD if you want to do that as well.
Boss.
So easy on-ramp, and in my opinion, super easy off-ramp.
Yes, you guys allow people to withdraw, correct?
Correct. If you go to lolli.com//account, you can withdraw, and you can move it to any address, move it to your US dollar bank account through ACH. We do fees at cost for US dollars, and then, the cost of doing any sort of transaction on Bitcoin, we don't take any off that.
Yeah, I guess I'm super curious right now to like, how do you guys limit your costs and you're in like the buying stuff? Like, you have like crazy or like an OTC relationship set up where it's like, hey, we're going to drive this much volume, obviously, and you just get a deal on that end and then make it as simple as possible. Because what I'm actually getting to here is like, all I can think of is like you implementing Lightning and making this like cheap as fuck for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the dream. Like, yeah. So right now, we're using an amazing OTC that we get really great rates. We're not doing any dark pooling. We don't have any plans of doing dark pooling like Robinhood and some others. We give what we get to the consumer. We take a percent from the retailer. And I think that's an important distinction. We're out here negotiating all these rates with the retailer. We're trying, part of it is like our deep relationships that we have with these retailers over the last 7 years from our last company. We have a competitive advantage there. Like, I invite competitors, like, whatever. I'm a competitive person, and I want to win as a business. And so I think I'm able to get competitive rates. But part of that is like I'm actually competing more so with the Ebates of the world to get those competitive rates than anyone out there. So I'm going out there and pulling up my Rolodex, like trying to get these retailers on board, trying to get the best rates for our consumers, our shoppers, and getting them these rates, transferring it to Bitcoin, and passing as much on to people as possible. Clearly, we need to make this business work so that we stay alive. So we take a small percent from the retailer side because we're driving these consumers
Obviously.
to their site.
Obviously. And that's what like fascinates me. It seems like a sick setup, and it can only be sort of refined and streamlined going forward, especially if things like Lightning blow up.
I met up with Elizabeth a couple days ago, actually, and we've been, I think, long-term like internet friends for a while. But it was great to meet in person and hear her vision, very similar mission for the future. Mm-hmm. And like I think I told you earlier, like I got on this big Ethereum kick because I just sort of thought that Bitcoin wasn't going to be able to scale, and projects like Lightning make me really, really excited for the future of commerce, the future of Bitcoin. And I think one of the most exciting things, like I sort of envision this sort of like product UI that I'll open source on your podcast, which I think is like really cool. It's like transfer it faster. You know, you have the Lightning, literally, like, I'm picturing like the Lightning icon. Mm-hmm. Transfer it fast, Bitcoin, and then transfer it slow. You've got like the tortoise. And you've got like US dollars that, 7 days later you can get your cash. Way to go. Cool.
Right? I mean, seeing what Jewel and Casa have done with their extensions, it seems like it should be pretty simple to implement what they have. I mean, maybe you can be compatible with the Casa node or something like that and just hook up directly there in your extension. I think that's what Casa's actually working on. I don't know. So
we're running our own nodes. I think Casa's awesome. Like I mean, I think like first time around, like starting Cosmic, I kind of looked at the world with this. Yeah,
and I'm not even talking about Casa in particular. I'm just thinking, because I'm thinking of my node because I have a Casa node, but make this extension compatible with like Pierre's node launcher or something. That, or anything, like any node, just make it compatible and just hook up.
Totally.
Obviously, you guys are thinking about this. I'm just thinking aloud here.
Yeah, so I love those projects. I think like I used to look at the world as like a zero-sum game, and I think that was like a flawed logic. And we're all in this together, and I think that it's like, how do we compound upon each other's infrastructure, and how do we build, something for everybody? And the pie is pretty fucking big. It's like, we can all enjoy, the end game. I think we're in such early days that I'm really excited to like collaborate with a lot of these projects, Jewel, Casa, Elizabeth, with Lightning. And the way that I see this actually playing out is, we have these partnerships with right now over 500 of the top merchants in the country, arguably in the world. And what I think our contribution is like, how do you get them to accept Bitcoin? Mm-hmm. We've already won, I think, in getting them to reward with Bitcoin. And you have to give people Bitcoin to get someone excited about it. Mm-hmm. We have thousands of users right now that are excited about Bitcoin. They're earning it. They're choosing it over cash. There's plenty of cash back programs, but they're choosing Bitcoin back over cash back. So we have these users. We have, I think, all the users that want to earn Bitcoin instead of like buy it. The next phase is like, okay, now that they have it, how do you get them to spend it? How do you get them to use it across all these retailers? So my next challenge over the next 5 years is going to all these retailers and saying, let me help you spin up a Lightning node. Let me give you this like ability to do no-cost transactions, next to no-cost transactions, Lightning fast transactions, and distribute this to thousands of retailers that want no fees, that want trust across the network. Like, how do I give this? And that's the next phase of Lolli.
That's incredible. And this is actually very much in line with a conversation I was having earlier this week with another Bitcoin. And it is like, we need to create the closed loop system that's always been envisioned. Like the consumer has the optionality to just keep their Bitcoin in the Lolli extension and spend it at a retailer, that's going to be incredible. But again, specifically with Lightning, obviously it's not a foregone conclusion. It's still reckless to experiment with it, but I do believe that the vision is there, and there are some predictable paths through which this technology can go. And after a conversation I had earlier this week with a Bitcoiner here in New York, like, it's going to get to the point where you go to these retailers, you're going to be like, it's irresponsible for you not to use this. Like, the fees are so burdensome for you in the incumbent financial system that literally, as a CEO, as an owner of this business, it is irresponsible for you not to use this technology because it is so cost savings. If you can figure out a way to basically hedge the volatility.
You nailed it. It's like goes back to, what do people want? What do companies want? Mm-hmm. Like, how do you make Bitcoin attractive to retailers? Like, I think we figured out, like, how do you make it attractive to consumers? You literally make it free. Like, great, we've done it. Mm-hmm. It's out there. Anyone can earn Bitcoin for free using Lolli. Like, done. The next phase is going to retailers and saying, what are your biggest problems? Like, I know your biggest problems, but what are your biggest problems? It's like chargebacks. Mm-hmm. You pay, like, international commerce. I come from the payments world, and I am always surprised with how few Bitcoiners come from the payments world, because, like, the payments world is riddled with problems. It is like, I mean, just as a 22-year-old, like, coming into the payment space, I'm like, this is a fucking mess. Right? Like, what? Like, you want to pay what fees for what service to every single fucking time? Like, it made no sense to me. And it was just a tax of doing business. Every time you pay 1.5% to the banks, the acquiring merchant, the credit card companies, over and over and over again. And it's just this assumed tax. And I'm a big believer, like, if something's broken, there should be a fix. But at the same time, like, there are institutions in place that do not want that. Like, they like their tax. They're sitting back there. They're having fun. Mm-hmm. They're not building anything. They're just collecting their tax. What value are they adding? And Bitcoin comes along and goes back to democratization of commerce, but it goes back to giving everybody the ability to buy and sell anywhere freely, and to own that transaction, to own that money, and to own the transfer of that money. And when I learned about Bitcoin, I'm like heads deep, or like into this like space, and I'm like, why are we paying all these taxes for, like, for these payment companies that aren't doing really anything that Bitcoin does, like, where everybody is verifying.
Right.
And so I got really excited about that idea, sort of tucked it in the back of my head, and came back to it when I was building Lolli. And I think one of, like, where I sort of view the future of payments, and the future of credit, and the future of cross-border, and this future of, like, connection. Like, Bitcoin is this connective tissue between 7.5 billion people. Mm-hmm. Everybody can own it. Everybody can transfer it to each other. Like, you can't do that for other currencies. It's literally impossible.
Impossible.
How do you do that? So at first, like, the first phase is like, let's get it into the hands of everybody. Let's distribute it. Let's let everybody earn it. The next phase is like, let's get everybody excited about spending it. But why would they spend it? And what I think is the future of spending is actually shared incentives. The retailer has the incentive to accept it because they don't have to pay the tax. They don't have to pay the 1.5%. But it's not even the 1.5%, because that's actually kind of small in relative to chargebacks. Chargebacks with international commerce are fucking massive.
The company I work for, I work for an online ad platform that is experimenting with Bitcoin, and for our crypto publishers, we only accept Bitcoin, like, because of chargebacks in particular. And, like,
it's immutable. It's beautiful.
It was like the scammer problem, the ICO problem went beyond, like, just launching ICOs. These people were buying ads with credit cards and charging it back, like, basically running, like, after they would charge the credit card, say it was fraudulent, get the money back, and we were like, all right, we're just going to accept Bitcoin for this.
Look at the best payment companies in the world right now. They're tacking on fraud detection. It's Bolt, it's Stripe, it's Adyen. All these companies have built probably collectively 40, 50, maybe more $1 billion of market value in the world by building fraud detection services. Like Bitcoin is fraud detection native in a currency. Mm-hmm. It's immutable. Why would you pay with Bitcoin if you not going to get it back?
Yeah.
So if you can decrease, if you have this margin of 10%, 15% cross-border commerce, like that world gets really exciting, and it adds an incentive for the retailer to accept Bitcoin. Because that's like a 10% margin that a lot of people don't think about, that the retailer is passing off to the consumer. And a big thing to me is like, retailers are largely not transparent. Mm-hmm. You don't know what's baked into the marketing expense. You don't know what's baked into the payment expense. You don't know any of this. Thus, the consumer just pays. They're happy to pay with their credit card. Like, yay, Visa, paid with my credit card. Why are you getting those points? Why are you getting these, nice rewards? It's because, you're paying with something, and it's you're responsible for something. You're on the hook for something. But the beautiful part of Bitcoin that I think aligns with every party and everybody wins is giving everybody the ability to win. And the retailer wins because they decrease the chargebacks. The consumer has to be trusted. Otherwise, they lose their Bitcoin. Way to go. Mm-hmm. And the retailer's happy to accept it. And so you're decreasing the chargebacks to near 0%, because you can't get it back. So everybody wins. And I look at Lolli owning those rails and Bitcoin being the rails that we transfer payments in the future.
Thank you for building it. I mean, maybe that's what people need to realize that this is important. It's just to see it exist in front of them. Oh my God, this exists, and I can avoid chargebacks by just literally only accepting Bitcoin. And it's going to take time. It has taken time. So that's one thing I wrote down here in the notes is you said 6-7 years ago it was too early. Is it still too early, do you think?
That's a great question. I think that's, I think it's the right time. Mm-hmm. I think with Cosmic, we learned a lot. We were too early, and we hit it at the right time to get acquired and to build something of value for the world. But I want to build something massive. I want to build something that literally affects 7.5 billion people, and hopefully by the time it exists, I'm playing the long game. Hopefully it's 8 billion. Hopefully it's 9 billion. I want to build something that changes the world. And I think Cosmic taught me, in building Cosmic, and my team and everyone taught me that to see the long game, to see the big picture. And with Lolli, it's not just rewards. It's bigger than that. It's a rails to get Bitcoin to millions, ideally billions of people, and it's starting with rewards. So that's the goal. And I think that we're playing a long game. We have amazing investors, amazing users that are investing in their time in us to share this and to believe in this. And the team believes in it. It's the same team that was building Cosmic. It's of the 7 people we have on board right now. It's 6 of them. We've been in the trenches building Cosmic. We went through some really shitty times, and we, went through some great times, and we're doing it again. And we're doing it, same dream, same team. We're out here doing it again. It's been fun.
No, I love it. And it actually reminds me a lot of what I wrote about today, which is Coin Center's paper on cash and privacy. And they touch on user data a lot, and it seems like you guys have the opportunity to flip the relationship of retailer and user, and especially around the collection of data and the distribution of data. And it seems like you're very privacy and security first principle. You have a very privacy and security first principles mindset. How much does this play into the product?
Yeah, so it starts with Matt. Mm-hmm. Matt is my inspiration for privacy. He's our North Star. Mm-hmm. I think he's taught me a lot over the years about the value of privacy. He, I'll say this nicely, is a privacy nut.
Matt, he called you a nut.
Yeah. Privacy freak. There we go.
A freak. Freak's more apt for this.
On brand. So shout out Matt. Yeah, I mean he's the best. Like he's always looking out for our users. He wouldn't. I mean, he won't even let me code anymore. He won't let me submit any code. So I have no say of it other than like, he's our North Star. Mm-hmm. He cares about our users. With everything that we launch, we have privacy in mind. We have to, given the sake of rewards, we have to track the purchase on every retailer's site. Mm-hmm. We do not want to track anything ideally. And I think that you'll see the product evolve over time where we want to give people the ability to be anonymous. We want to give people full privacy. That's the end game. At this point, in order to give rewards, I have to know that user X shopped at retailer Y and bought something. That's all we collect. That's all we want to collect. And when we collect that, we pass that off to the retailer pays us, we give the reward to the consumer, you can transfer it to whatever address you want, you can do whatever you want with it, it's your Bitcoin. That's our privacy stance.
Yeah. No, and it seems like a huge uphill battle. And I mean, I can't imagine a way in which e-com is like, I can't imagine a way in which to avoid giving up at least some information in the way that e-commerce is structured in its current form. And I would argue it needs like Bitcoin-like capabilities to get it to a point where it's less intrusive. And so I guess this is what I'm trying to get at. Like, is the drawl of user data too big to get away from? Do you think, what does the model look like after the collection of user data, if it does exist? Have you thought about this?
Yeah. So one thing that like I didn't think I did with Cosmic that I think I've done with Lolli is Cosmic, like I sort of saw the big picture and I saw the like what we had to build. In between was just this like abyss. I was like, I want to build a shopping cart that everybody can buy and sell from and give everyone the ability to buy and sell anywhere. And then I was like, okay, it looks like a cart. It looks like a white labeled solution. Like it looks like whatever it was. With one thing I learned going back to something I mentioned earlier, just like seeing the big picture. With Lolli, like you have to understand what you're building today and who you're serving today, and how like once you control that experience, how do you build it for a better future? So, and then like what does it become? And so like I think that you have to play ball with the people who run the court. Like you have to know what these retailers want and you have to give them that. Mm-hmm. And once you control the narrative and you can let people like own their data, own their privacy, you just like, I've seen all these projects, a lot of them are built on Ethereum. They're doing it from day one and they're missing the point. Like you can't do that from day one and have any transformative impact. Like people want to fucking shop at Walmart. People want to shop at Jet. Right. Like people want to shop at Overstock. They want to travel with Priceline. Like they want to shop at the places they want to shop. And you're not going to convince these retailers, you're going to bring them consumers if you're trying to change their business model.
Yeah, it's not even changing their business model. It's just changing, again, like going back to UX and psychology, like arguably the way it's set up now is the easiest way, right? Like, hey, I give you my address. You know where I am. Like, you're going to feed me good ads in the future. I'm drunk rambling a little bit now. This whiskey's gotten to me. By the way, we're drinking Iron Smoke straight bourbon whiskey. Thank you for bringing it.
Of course, of course.
No, but what I'm trying to get at is like, how do you confront these problems? Because I think the problem is, what's the word I'm looking for? Convenience. Like convenience is the problem in today's sort of model of e-com and stuff like that. And how do we make it more convenient? And then this harpens back to the optionality that Bitcoin presents, where I would argue it makes it more convenient if you can just point a scanner at a QR code from a node that nobody knows who you are. It's completely sovereign. It's completely your node, and nobody knows how you got that Bitcoin. Point at a QR code, expend it for money. Maybe send it to a PO box or something. I don't know if that's the next iteration of how you disguise like where you live when you're buying stuff or something like that. But basically, overcoming the convenience of today's e-com experience. Is that possible at Bitcoin, do you think?
I think it is. I think people are loyal to other people that serve them. Mm-hmm. And you could make a strong argument that like retailers are becoming people. They have to.
You've seen in the Twitter personalities, right?
Exactly. Oh my God.
The brands are becoming like, right?
Oh my God. Sad Sunny D and like, comforting, what is it? Moon pie?
Even though this is an official Arby's account, but Nihilist Arby's has done more great marketing for Arby's.
Yeah.
Just for like, I don't know. It's my favorite account, but like,
so
I would
good.
actually eat Arby's after reading Nihilist Arby's tweets. Like, even though it's not an official account, but like the personalization of brands, the personification, if you will.
Yeah.
It is happening. It's becoming more real. I come from Philadelphia. I would argue the Sixers have the best sports Twitter brand in any franchise, in any sport.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. They've been on it for years.
I was in literally, this morning, I was in a yoga class, and the teacher goes, trust the process. And I was like, is she a Sixers fan, or is like this just the universal truth
they
right now?
They memed it into reality then.
It's like, it all comes back. It's like, yeah, this world's pretty interesting right now. Mm-hmm. Like, it kind of comes back to original marketplaces. Mm-hmm. Like people selling to people in the same space. It's like they want this good. It's something they need. And at the end of the day, like the more personal brands are, the more those brands people serve us. Like that's where we want to shop. And so if the brands are saying, like look at Everlane. Everlane is a great example.
Love Everlane.
Great product.
Huge fan of Everlane. Hey, shout out Robin Betchel. She's an Everlane investor, reads the bent, listens to the podcast. Shout out to you, Robin.
Didn't even know we had some Everlane fans here.
My last 3 duffel bags for weekend trips when I bring a carry-on are Everlane bags.
I'm wearing an Everlane shirt right now.
Boss.
Oh, no, just kidding. I'm not. I thought I was.
We're going to pretend you were.
I was. Oh, yeah, cut it out. Yeah. Love Everlane. The transparency that they're bringing to being like a brand, I think is amazing. I think brands need to go that route, and they are going that route. And as soon as they start going that route with payments, and they show you like the tax that they're paying to the credit card companies, to the banks, like right now they're just showing you the tax that they're paying on the marketing expenses, and they're saying we're not willing to pay the Facebook tax. We're not willing to pay these, like, the ad expenses of like reaching you. We're just going to make the best fucking product, and we're going to be a great brand, transparent brand. Like that's the shift that's happening right now in commerce. And the next phase of that, I think, will come into the payments world. And they'll say, how are we accepting payments? Why is it important? And I think that we're at the leading, we work with Everlane. We work with the most transparent brands in the world. And the consumer has to trust these brands in the future. Like they're tired of having their data leak. They're tired of this. They need this transparency. But the brands need to also protect their consumers. And so I think that there will be sort of like if not already, a day of reckoning when like these people, when these brands realize they need to protect the consumer. Mm-hmm. And I think that comes in the form of Bitcoin. It comes in the form of letting people check out privately. It comes in the form of like letting people like own their data. And I don't want to, be cocky, but I think I think we're taking the Apple approach. We're not probably going to be first, but we're going to be the best, and we're going to be the safest, and we're going to be the most private. And if we always sort of hold that as like a North Star, and we always work with the best brands, and we care about people's privacy, like I'm okay with like not hacking on Lightning right now, not hacking on Lightning professionally right now, like because I want to make sure that it is the best, and I have high confidence that it is the best. But I need to see it in like action, and then I'll take it to our brands. When I take it to our brands, I want to know it's the fastest, safest way, and we have a high, like we're the ones that were talking to like literally brands that are doing 72 billion in revenue. Like,
Boss.
sorry, bigger than that, hundreds of billions of revenue.
Boss.
Like if I go to Walmart, and I say like, I need you to accept Bitcoin, like that's a big ask.
Right.
Like, imagine if Walmart accepted Bitcoin. Like, what would that do? What would that do?
Blow people's minds. Pomp would tweet about it. This virus would definitely be spreading. Love you, Pomp.
We just landed 1-800-Flowers, and I have this tweet in drafts. It's like, the iris is spreading, and it's
I love that.
It's yeah. Shout out to Pomp over there. Yeah.
No, but I love that you're a little cocky. We're big fans of finding bravery in your bravado here at Tales from the Crypt, and I think it's important. And like you said, it's going to get to a point. I like that you are not apprehensive, but just cautiously optimistic about Lightning in particular. But I do, like I said earlier, like the vision is there. Like you can see it. Like obviously, we are probably more technically savvy enough to interact with this technology at this point, this stage of its development. But even though it's a little clunky here and there, it's definitely not the most seamless UX right now. The vision is there. It's like once you like use a Joule extension to play somebody in chess around the world and wager 500 Satoshis, which is less than a fucking penny, like that's when it's like, holy shit, like this stuff works. I just won 500 Satoshis. I won half a penny. It's not like I'm not psyched that I won half a penny. I'm psyched that I could win half a penny. Like it is there. And again, slowly but surely over time, I think it will be bought out. And I love that you guys have this long-term vision of just waiting for it. And it seems like you have a pretty baller retail network that maybe you can flip a switch at a certain point in time.
It's my contribution. Yeah, I feel like everyone's done so much work, and to bring something to space, it's like it's my team and I. Like this is what we're good at, and this is what we want to bring to the space. And yeah, it's like it's a team effort. It's like everybody on the Lolli team believes in this thing, and like let's bring it to the world.
Fucking love it, man. We're not done yet. Let's get cosmic, and no pun intended to your previous company, but getting cosmic in the Tales from the Crypt sense, like how do you see Bitcoin affecting the world? Like you're an econ major. Did you understand Bitcoin more innately because you understood economics, do you think? Or was it payments in particular? And how do you see it? Let's get fully fucking cosmic. How do you see it changing the world?
Universe, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, going back to economics, truthfully, I didn't get into business school. I like applied undergrad. Chapel Hill had a great business school. I just gave a talk there, and they were like, "Why did you study econ, not like business?" And I was like, "I didn't get into your school." And I'm like, "That's cool, whatever." Like, a little chip on my shoulder. But I took some finance classes. I took some like econ classes, and even though the business school was like the sort of pinnacle. Thank you. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just like loved econ. I was like it went back to psychology to me. Like econ explained why people make the decisions that they do.
I would argue economics is strictly psychology at the end of the day. It's
the best.
People's decisions when faced with scarce assets is, if you're going to describe economics at its purest form, that's how I would describe it. It's more psychology than anything. That's why I fucking hate modern day economics models and stuff like that. You can't predict economics.
Yes. I will say behavioral economics I'm mostly partial to. Mm-hmm. And like I think Chapel Hill was great for a lot of reasons, but I had very conservative, traditional professors that were teaching Austrian.
Really? Lucky you.
Yeah. Austrian economics, schooled in Keynesian economics, and saw like some really old school things that I actually thought were pretty archaic at the time, and frustrated me. I was like, I'm learning things that explain 50% of the problem, 50% of the solution.
What do you mean by this?
What's that?
What do you mean by this?
I mean, like, you're learning these models, right? Like, it's a bunch of models that are like, this is how we're going to predict the future. But only 50% of the future, 60% accuracy, 50% accuracy.
Confidence levels. Confidence levels are a huge thing, all right?
Confidence levels, sure.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like give or take 50%, sure.
Yeah.
But mostly give. Like, how do you take, how do you increase that, like, degree of accuracy? And like, coming from like a family that is like a big believer in mental health and psychology and like understanding people and why we make the decisions that we do as human beings, merging these two ideas between like psychology and economics. I mean, I went to the internet and I was like, who is talking about psychology and economics? Because I am so frustrated in these classes, and the questions that I was asking weren't getting answered. I could go even deeper and say, like, I grew up going to Catholic school, and the questions that I was asking in Catholic school were not getting answered. And
what questions are they? I'm a Catholic school boy myself.
Really? What was your Catholic school?
Well, kindergarten through second grade, I went to a Catholic school in Northeast Philly. Then we went to a Quaker school for a year.
Nice.
Then we moved to South Carolina. I went to public school to high school, and then I went to an all boys Jesuit high school for high school.
You saw it all. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I liked it. I loved it. Gonna get a little vulgar here, freaks, but I really appreciated going to an all guys school, because when I started hitting puberty in like 7th and 8th grade, so goddamn horny in class. It was just so much better being at an all guys school. You don't have to worry about any of that shit. And Jesuits get a lot of flack, but I do think they're great educators. They the whole mission of the high school I went to is creating men for and with others, and they really push us to be intellectually curious and to question authority. And I think that's why I'm here where I am today. Shout out St. Joe's Prep in Philly. Best high school there ever was.
It's a good shout out. Do you think you have some listeners from high school out there somewhere?
Maybe. I don't know. I hope so. If you're listening out there, go prep.
Prep lax?
Prep lax, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that was, my Catholics. Like, I have a love-hate relationship. Obviously, as Catholics, the diddling boys scandal is high on everybody's mind, and I'm somebody who does not agree with the church per se, but I do agree with the message of Catholicism at the end of the day. I think Jesus was pretty chill.
That's the quote of the podcast right there. I think Jesus is pretty chill. I agree. I think Jesus was pretty chill.
Yeah.
I mean, good guy.
Yeah.
All around.
Good message.
Yeah. He meant well.
Yeah.
Jesus meant well. I'm born and raised Catholic. Dad's Jewish. Like, grew up multicultural family. Mom's Hispanic. Dad's Eastern European Jew from Long Island.
¿Te hablas español?
It's a poquito.
Poquito, muy poquito.
Sí,
Ni poquito, sí.
Sí. Muy mal.
Muy poquito también. See, I even fucked that up.
Sí. Yeah. My bad. We'll do the Spanish segment next time. Yeah, for the international audience.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up in a multicultural family. Mom was devout Catholic and taught, was very much adamant, go to Catholic school. And I think it led the nature of growing up in a family of people with this psychology mindset led me into this sort of mindset to question everything, coupled with Catholic school. I felt like I was questioning everything throughout Catholic school, led me to feel like a lack of answers, but this fascination and love for religion as well. I love all religions. I think religions are fascinating, And they've driven the world. They've brought us together and they brought us apart, but they've created tribes, and religions are beautiful at their core.
I'm going to get heavy with you right now.
Hit me.
This is Santiago Siri and I talk about this a lot. Religions are the quasi-blockchains of the ancient world. They help bootstrap sort of society and what it is to be a good person. So you can go back and prove the stories throughout history of what it was like to be a good person. They try to teach you how to like become a good person in real time. Thinking about like religions as bootstrapping mechanisms throughout history or something like that. You know?
That's beautiful. I subscribe to that. I think religions are that, and they're forks. Like, they evolve. As beliefs evolve and humans evolve with those beliefs, they subscribe to new religions that serve them. And yeah, religion, I mean, it's there's a lot of parallels for like what we're doing right now and religion.
Oh yeah.
It's like what is humanity? Why are we all like in this together? Like, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. How are we connected? And if you look back at like history, every war, every like conflict was started and ended by, in my eyes, by commerce. It's like by communication and then commerce. Why do all these countries love each other or not fight? It's like because there's economic incentive for them not to fight. How do you bridge them with a common currency, a common ideology? You give them this common like language. Like it's give them a common language in the form of a currency that is Bitcoin.
Well, I actually had this argument with Matt Odell in person over the weekend. I had a college buddy in town. We met up with Matt. We shot the shit about Bitcoin and like a lot. Like so, that's like another big debate, like side debate in Bitcoin is like, does it produce a dystopian future or a utopian future? And some people will argue dystopian. I would argue, I don't want to say utopian, but like I think it would make Sorry, that's a terrible framing. Not dystopian or utopian. Violent or peaceful. I think that's a better framing. Some people said more violent because of the potential for the wealth gap to increase in a Bitcoin world, which is definitely a possibility. But I think what you're building would fight against that. Or a peaceful revolution. And I think what you just brought up explains how it could be peaceful. Like, the economic argument for why wars happen is because trade is encumbered by some sort of system, whether it be currency exchange or rough borders or sanctions, whatever it would be. And hypothetically, in a future where Bitcoin is the world reserve currency and there are no economic borders through which you can exchange value, maybe people will cooperate more and will lead to a more peaceful future. I don't know if I'm being too lovey-dovey hippie right now.
No, that's my language. I love that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm building towards. And if not, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry.
Right?
Like,
but that's like something here. Are we naive? That's another big question on this podcast. Are we naive? And if not,
the one argument that I've heard that I think a lot about pendulum swings.
Mm-hmm.
As the world changes at the scale at which it's changing right now.
Not the scale, the pace.
Both.
Yeah.
The pace and the scale. We've never had. You launch like a feature in an app that like is anti-privacy, and it affects 1 billion people. Like the scale of that is fucking unbelievable.
Very true. Very true.
And the pace of it is like every 2 weeks, Facebook is launching code.
So it's compounding.
It's compounding.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody makes like Apple. I think one of the most brilliant things for privacy was like Tim Cook going into like what was it? Going in front of Congress, and they were like, "Give us this data," and he was like, "I wish I could help you guys. I don't have it." What a fucking answer! Oh my god!
Right?
Like. Just what a precedent for Apple to be like, if we had it, great, we'd give it to you. We don't have it. That's the precedent. That's the world that is like we have to live in the scale in which the companies that will exist in the future have to protect the people that they're affecting.
So that brings up another interesting point. Like, So what you just said reminds me of like the meme that goes around in FinTwit and crypto Twitter a lot, where it's like, he's a guy. He said bye. He said what? He said bye. Bye, 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 bye. Bye, bye, bye. And now we're going to make a sale. And then it's like sell, 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 sell. So it's like, I completely forgot where I was going with that. What were you just describing?
Tim Cook, privacy, Apple,
Yes.
precedents.
I'm sorry. The whiskey's getting to me. The precedent. So
It's
the
good,
point
we're
I was
getting real.
trying to make there is it feels as if all it takes is a little bit of courage from one stalwart in an industry to stand up and say, hey, this is wrong. We're not going to accept this. It seems as though there's almost a complacency over the market. It's like, oh, this is just the way things are. Like, we're going to comply with this. Like, it seems as though to change things, there needs to be a bit of courage in the market, particularly from industry leaders or big businesses or fast, quickly growing businesses to say, hey, this is the new way. We're going to do it this way. Like, we're going to stand against the grain and sort of change the perspective and the interaction with this product. And basically somebody to have the balls to stand up and say, hey, this is what I think. We need to change the world. That's why I was so pumped about Jack last week taking a principled stance on Bitcoin in particular, because it was like so goddamn refreshing. It's like the last couple decades since Steve Jobs, obviously he didn't die 20 years ago, but since Steve Jobs died, it's been hard to find very many CEOs with as much principle as he had. And Jack, for all the flack he gets with Twitter and the banning and the censorship and whatever, I thought his stance on Bitcoin and being principled about it in particular was very refreshing. Just like you don't see that often.
I agree. It takes this focus and this long-term thinking that I would say like the first time around I didn't have. I don't think I saw this like long game of what the world could be and how I could impact that. And when I look, I mean, I think Jack is like one of the best CEOs with like the longest vision of anyone. And arguably, like my prediction is I think he'll be the most powerful person in the world in the next 10 years.
Did you see Arjun's tweet?
I talked to Arjun about this. I didn't see the tweet.
Arjun tweeted out. We got to pull it up.
Okay. Arjun and I like probably agree with a lot of things. I think we actually talked about this.
You keep riffing. I'll pull this.
Yeah. So like I think Arjun and I were actually talking about the like what does Cash App to Square combo look like to Twitter combo. I mean, that world is fucking massive. Like, that future is incredible.
Yeah, so here's Arjun's tweet. The year is 2024. Via Musk-like maneuver, Cash App and Twitter have morphed, creating a Bitcoin-native millennial bank on top of the most important communication platform on the planet to offer uncensorable speech and payments. Jack wins the Nobel Peace Prize.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's so good. It's actually, like, I can see this happening.
Yeah.
Like,
Twitter, I mean, you and I are both active on Twitter. I think one of the reasons we love Twitter is I'll speak for myself, and then let me know what you think. I had a hard time getting into Twitter when I first got into it. I think it was interesting, but I was like, what do I tweet about?
Why? It's an acquired taste.
It's an acquired taste, similar to this bourbon we're drinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. But yeah, how do you get into Twitter? And one of my friends, Ryan DeWidgeon, he wrote this blog post of like how to be good at Twitter. And
filter.
Yeah, filter. It's a process.
It takes
trust the process.
Trust the process. Like it takes interaction. Like you have to interact with it. Like, and so obviously
with anything in life.
Yeah.
It's kind of like life in a digital form. It's our thoughts being broadcasted out in the world, and this sort of like I think the best things I've ever done in life have been like when I've shared a thought, when I've shared an idea, and it's been like beaten down and changed, and then being like, okay, well maybe that wasn't a good idea. If I can do that in a public sphere, and somebody can like say, you're right, you're wrong, you're right, you're wrong, and you can like build on that. Like most of my most formative thoughts, I think over the last 10 years, I think I just 9 years. I joined Twitter 9 years ago. Have come from like putting my thoughts out on Twitter and seeing what the world thinks, and my thoughts have compounded on that, and it's sort of this beautiful hive mind.
Oh,
it's like
the definition of a hive mind.
It's definition of a hive mind.
So going back to sports analogies, lacrosse sports analogies in particular, like a lot of the one thing that was mentally beat into us on my high school lacrosse team was like you're only as strong as your weakest link, and basically what that means is like you need everybody on your team to be prepared from the first starter to the last player on the bench. And I think Twitter, as an information sharing platform, gives the ability for the weakest links to access the best information and
yes,
sort of bootstrap. Like you create, everybody's on a level playing field of the conversation where you can peek in and sort of you can strengthen the weakest links by having open conversations. And I don't know if I'm being too pretentious right now or whatever, but like this is honestly what I believe. Like I believe the more access to information and more importantly quality information, which is dictated by likes and retweets and a sort of cream rising to the top, like meritocracy, is imperative and is changing society. That was my drunk rant.
No, I think that's great. Tell it to Jack when he comes on. Like, hopefully he listens.
Yeah, and
it's
like,
spot on. It's the democratization of ideas in a digital format.
But even though I'm about to interview Jack, I will say, I do think Twitter needs to step out of the equation a little bit. The company just like needs to, like I said, Twitter's all about filtering and picking. Like it is like the user experience. Like you need to design your own experience on Twitter. You need to decide what information feeds you want to have access to. You need to be able to block and mute the trolls. It is a process. Those people exist. They exist throughout the whole world. The trolls, the haters. People are going to hop in your mentions and shit on you. No matter what your political views are, no matter what you believe in, there's going to be somebody there fighting you. Just filter them out. Like if all your like Twitter is the best communication tool that's ever been created. That's why this podcast is here right now. That's why I'm here right now. It's like this podcast would not be a thing if I did not DM somebody on Twitter and be like, "Hey, we should meet up and talk about Bitcoin." Like I literally would not be here. And the thought of that beauty being able to be bastardized because a bunch of people are like screaming like these people have bad ideas and you should ban them, it makes me sad. Like I think maybe fucking up my future interview, but I think there is a way to utilize Twitter, and that Twitter can step out of the equation. It makes everybody happy, and it's rigorous filtering.
How do you empower the individual to control their experience of how they interact with the world?
Yeah,
that should be the goal of Twitter, and it's so tough. Like I don't envy Jack's problems and
neither
the team's
do I.
problems.
That's like I'm so like.
It's so tough. It's like, how do you create a constitution?
And let me make that clear. Like, I don't hold him responsible for that at all. Like,
no.
I can't imagine having that power, or like, not even that power, that responsibility, excuse me.
The best platform in the world is on his shoulders and like no pressure. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's how do you write the modern, ever-changing constitution for what can be shared, protecting your users, letting them protect themselves. It's like, I mean, I don't know an algorithm in the world that has been invented to do that, and it's like on the cutting edge. Like it's like, how do you do it? I have never seen of all the people who are fighting for free speech and all the people who are fighting for anti-hate speech and controlling their experience. It's like, where's the solution? Write the algorithm. I couldn't come up with it. I don't know.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. What is right? What is wrong? It's this. I mean, when you put everybody's brain in the
friction
ether,
exists. It's a law of nature. Like there's going to be friction. Like literally, my hand rubbing against this table, and then ideas rubbing against each other. Like there's going to be friction no matter where.
It goes back to the pendulum theory. The pendulum theory I strongly believe in is the world will correct itself. Humans will correct themselves. And you put enough out there into ether, and like I'm okay with people who do not agree with me online. I'm okay with it. I don't like it. It's not enjoyable to my Twitter.com experience, but like it's okay. It exists, and those are real people out there that have brains. Well, okay. Let's just say that there's no bots. Let's remove the bot equation. Block the bots. That's first off.
I haven't experienced so much bot activity recently. The ETH bots are gone, at least.
XRP bots gone?
I think those are paid shows. I don't know if they're bots, but
okay.
Yeah.
So let's just say like if all humans had an account or multiple accounts, maybe some anon accounts that were like out there, that's fine for me. I love that. I think everybody should be able to voice their opinion. I was in Japan about a year and a half ago. I met with Twitter Japan, and I was fascinated to learn that people have an average of about 4 to 5 accounts, and that's for the
what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, real life. And
full transparency, I have 2. Tales from the Crypt.
Ask Jack about different cultural versions of how people have used. It actually goes to your point. How do you make Twitter for everybody? That's part of like how Japan, like just the mentality of Japan, they live in this world that is like their own. It's so different than like the Western Twitter. Mm-hmm. So they've made it their own by spinning up all these different accounts. And so they have all these anon accounts from their personas. And I don't think they're like bad people. I don't think they're like hiding their identity. I think they're just finding their lane, and they're finding what they're interested in, and they're like, I'm super into anime, I'm super into baseball, I'm super into this and that, and they talk and they engage in what they're interested about, and they do it freely because Twitter, and like that's the beautiful part of Twitter. So how do you make that for everybody and not just make it a hack on top of Twitter?
Right. I'm happy I don't have to solve that question. I'm very happy I don't have to solve the question. Maybe I'll ask Jack in a couple of weeks. I mean, again, it's something I don't want to focus on this interview, but like, especially while we're in this interview, but it's something that fascinates me. It is. I mean, again, it's why we're here tonight. It's a powerful tool, and harnessing it in the most advantageous way possible for every human is something that fascinates me. Like, I think about it every day. Is it good for the world, do you think?
Yes.
I do too.
I think so.
Yeah.
It feels in the present that there is debate of if it is good for the world, but I think that's short-term thinking. I think that's saying, Donald Trump tweeted this. It's like, we might have a world war because of Twitter, but I think the world will figure itself out, and this pendulum will swing back. And like, I mean, I see.
That's the point I would like to make, is that I think the empathy creation from Twitter is way bigger than the hate creation.
Exposure.
I think being able to see through somebody's eyes, like especially like in war-torn areas, like in Syria in 2012, 2013, being able to follow people documenting the war on the ground and see through their eyes, like the empathy that created, I was like, holy shit, I'm a white boy in fucking Chicago. I can't imagine being in this situation right now. I was like, God bless you. Like, holy shit. Like, I had a lot of holy shit moments via Twitter being like, I can't believe people live life this way.
Exposure.
Yeah.
Access to ideas. That is the core of like what balances the world. Like, I mean, going back to Catholic school, I was in a white homogenous Catholic school in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I felt, I don't know how to describe it. I don't talk about this a lot, but like I felt this imbalance. I was like, what am I? Like, I grew up with a Hispanic mother, like very like much part of like my individual identity and culture, and Jewish father. Like, I felt this sort of like imbalance. I was like, I felt like something wasn't right. And, through like, I mean, this is actually a deeper conversation, but my dad got laid off by the bank. Inspiration we can talk about later if you'd like, but
I can resonate with that inspiration very well.
Love it. Ended up going to public school, and just being, I mean, it was like Twitter. It was like I think the stat that they had was like it was the most diverse public school in North Carolina. It was the second largest public school in North Carolina. I was just like forced to meet so many people and be exposed to so many different, I think we represented 65 different countries.
Oh, shit.
And it was amazing. Like, I fucking loved high school. There was so many amazing people. There was so many people that inspired me from different walks of life. And I just I went all in. I was like, this is amazing. This is what I was lacking in life. And this is like where my brain went. I was like, I have to learn everything and know everything that I had not known before. And having that exposed me to all these different ideas, all these different thoughts, and just inspired me. I just never felt so empowered up until that point in my life of coming off of like this like confused Catholic school, middle school kid being like, whoa, this is the real world. Like, these are real people. This is like what life's about, like, right? Different ideas, different opinions than mine, and not necessarily agreeing with them and being, this like chameleon, but like being challenged.
Yeah. And that's like, I fucking love that story. Again, like, we moved back to the Philly area from South Carolina because of a very similar situation. And yeah, I came back to Philly, was in public school for a few years, and then went to private school. But yeah, the culture shock, and again, like real life culture shock of moving from place to place has made me who I am today. Like, I like to say this a lot, it's just cheesy, but like, I am the culmination of my experiences, and my experiences are vast. Not vast, but I've only ever traveled to like 2, 3, or 4 countries outside the U.S., but I feel like meeting different types of personalities in different parts of the country has made me who I am today. And again, like, Twitter just makes that possible for everybody. You don't have to move a geographic location to access somebody's mindset in a different place. And that empathy creation is something that we don't realize, like, the power of it. I don't think most people do. I do, I believe. It is crazy. Again, I think it's the most powerful tool that's ever been created, and it's figuring out how to harness that empathy and realize that, yes, there's a lot of hate, but I believe the empathy creation on that platform in particular way outweighs the hate.
I totally agree. I think that I'll like, actually, this is not a completely original thought. This is an idea that was given to me by a friend, David Bernstein. Started this thing called Run for America, to get progressive candidates, bipartisan, nonpartisan candidates into government. How do you get new ideas into government is his whole life mission. I met him. We were both like 24, 25. We were at a dinner table, and he told me he was on this like 20-year mission. How do you get more progressive candidates into government? And how do you get new ideas into government, thus ideas into people, like spread to people? And his thing was like, I mean, his whole like thesis for the next 20 years was just like fascinating to me. He was like able to see the Trump election, before the Trump election. He was able to see like the pendulum swinging. And when Trump announced that he was being, he was running for president, and I don't know if you remember that, like, it was insane.
Where
were you? What was your mentality?
When he was elected in 2016, so 2014 he announced. I was here in New York, and I had just read The Sovereign Individual, actually.
Nice.
And I told my wife, but that girlfriend, now my wife, I was like, he's going to win. Like, I knew.
Wow.
I knew, like, after reading that book, and I'm not saying this book is the reason why Trump won or anything, but, like, they did predict the conditions that would lead to Trump, which were a mass amount of citizens displaced of jobs because of automation. Because of that, you have nationalistic tendencies. In turn, people are trying to blame immigrants for their job loss and stuff like that, and then they turn to somebody who's going to solve all those problems and change the narrative and flip the sort of paradigm on its head. And Trump was that obvious candidate who doesn't care. And for all the hate Trump gets, I do think it was refreshing. I do have this sort of let's burn it down mentality, but like, hey, we need to throw a fucking wrench in this thing and people need to wake the fuck up. So some parts of me are happy that he was elected, or people are now like, how did it get this bad? It's not even that people know why it's this bad. People are beginning to question, how did it get to this point where a celebrity apprentice is our president? Like, and like, again, like
You were elected.
Yeah, he was elected, but like Trump to me is like whatever. Like I don't see him as an enemy. I don't see him as an ally. I'm just like he is a symptom of the system that we have created over time. That's all he is to me. And the fact that he was elected, if it opens people up to questioning the system they grew up in, which I would argue nobody is, or not nobody, but a vast majority of people have not questioned their whole lives, I'm all for that. I'm not for Trump. I'm for the questioning of the systems you grow up in. And hey, freaks, I would argue they're pretty fucked up and we should change them.
I have to agree with that. I think it's like, I never would say that if I had control, that if I wish I would do it any differently, to be honest. I think that Trump is this sort of necessary evil that has to exist to bring in the good, bring in the swing.
Bring in the fire under people's asses.
Fuck
like,
yeah.
Hey, we need to fix this. Like, Donald Trump's our fucking president right now.
Yeah, like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. But with that being said, it's not like we should revert to like the system that we came from. Like Donald Trump is president because the system that we came from is
broken.
It's
broken.
It's broken. Like,
yeah,
you cannot have politicians with no term limits. Fucking like, again, like I go back. I don't know if I've described this on this podcast before. Like, but the whole like mechanism of democracy in its current form is still an anachronism of like 1776. Like we vote for people to go to a centralized place to speak on our behalf when we have technologies like Twitter where we can speak for ourselves. Like it just like fundamentally does not make sense to me. I'm not saying we should go to direct democracy or anything like that, but I'm saying like we should probably adapt and like we don't need to give up our voice to these assholes who are psychopaths and are dead set on getting position rather than actually changing the world.
The Republic is failing us.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a question of will democracy fail us as well. Like probably so. But at least it's like bringing truth to the situation. Well, okay, maybe argue that truth was like truth with a completely representative democracy, Hillary would have gotten elected. And would the pendulum have swung so far that like we would have corrected, or would we keep igniting the fire?
That's a good question.
And while like, you know, I think Hillary would have been a better president, I do not necessarily agree with like if I zoom out for this like 50-year time frame that I hope to be alive, that I hope to like play a part in the world and like to help the world and humanity advance. Like, I think Trump might be better long term to exist as this fucking awful individual that is a representation of a failed republic. Like, that might be a better world.
Yeah.
Which is really tough.
I would argue Hillary could have played that character as well. I'm not the biggest Hillary fan. Like, again, like you talk about career politicians, people that don't deserve to get to where they are.
She wouldn't have ignited a large enough, like, anti-Hillary. Like, I think that Hillary has her pros and cons. Hillary is very much, like, she would have been, like, what we have had.
I just think, again, like, I go back to, like, we shouldn't even be thinking about these people. Like, these are, like, if you think about America's government and, like, when you talk about, like, the three branches, like the judicial, the legislative, and the executive branch, I almost forgot it there. It's probably less than 5,000 people that run the decisions for 320 million people. And, like, to me, that just, like, logically does not make any sense. Like, I think the whole structure of it, I'm not going to create a new structure and, like, how we should organize, but, like, just, like, off the bat, like, street smarts, looking at it like, this doesn't fucking make sense anymore. Like, that's my mentality.
Yeah, I think one of the things I care most deeply about, aside from Lolli and Bitcoin, is like mobile voting. I think giving people the ability we have the technology, we have the security, we have the ability. Like, I am excited by those projects that are bringing mobile voting. If you have a mobile voting solution out there, like, bring it to me. I'll give it to the right people. I so believe that will represent a true democracy and enable politicians to make the decisions and be absolutely held accountable for their decisions on a micro level. Like, when your politician goes to like the House, like goes to the floor, if they are not voting with you, you should get a notification on your 10 apps that you have that say, hey, this politician that you voted for did not serve you. They didn't vote with you. You're not who they're looking out for. And then next election, you should strongly consider, do they deserve your vote?
Yeah. Well,
where's the transparency? Where's the democracy? Where's the truth in it all?
Right. And so Santiago Siri mentioned earlier in this, like, so what he's building at Democracy Earth, they're working on that, but love Santi and the Democracy Earth team, but I think it should be even more localized. Like,
yes, that's where it has to start.
So the phrase communism at a family level, socialism at a community level, democracy at a state level, and anarchy at international, like, geopolitical level makes a lot of sense to me. Like, I think a lot of these decisions that we allocate to politicians via votes, we can sort of take ownership of now with the technology that exists today, and the decisions just need to be more local, as opposed to, like, a lot of the things that we vote on affect every American, where I would argue they should just affect your local community and what affects you more innately, more directly, and it should be more grassroots. Like, I think, again, that's why I'm into Bitcoin, because it's grassroots, it's bottom up, it's organic, it is not decreed upon people. You opt into it, and I believe you can create a similar structure with government where it's opt-in, grassroots. You have your local community, and then you guys vote to interact with the state community, and then if your state community likes it, you can interact with the federal community, and then from there with the international community. But it should always be from a very localized community perspective first, and then moving out from there. Nothing decreed from DC onto every locality in the U.S. I'm drunk. Alex, I'm sorry.
It's a good conversation. I'm enjoying this. I think
I am too.
Yeah, I want to live in this future we're talking about.
Right? Well, is it even possible? Like, am I just drunk?
It is possible.
Does this make sense, freaks? You can yell at me.
No, I'm an eternal optimist.
Because, well, the reason I want to have this, and I love hashing, pun intended, hashing this out with you, is because a lot of debate gets bifurcated, and it's like you believe this or believe that, and a lot of people don't explore the gray areas of, like, hey, let's recognize that we're humans, we're fucking stupid to a certain extent, and we sort of need to figure this out together. And I think there should be more, again, going back to Twitter and why it's open and why it should be open, this is why it's important.
Yeah, get those ideas out there. And I am a big believer that I am a proponent to never be dogmatic about anything. And it's just this principle that I have. And it's tough in the world that we live in, because I think I'm right about a lot of things. I want to build the world that I want to live in, and I want to be working towards something better. And it's a struggle that I have, because it's is that North Star right? Am I right? So many things come up in our lives that question that North Star. Are you building to something better? I just got I've been a big, I love cooking. I thought
you said cocaine for a second. Yeah. He loves cooking. Cooking.
Eating, cooking.
I legit thought you said I love cocaine. I was like, whoa.
Whoa.
Big admission of the podcast.
We're going into it.
Alex loves cooking. I love cooking too.
Cooking. There we go. What do you like to cook?
I do love to cook.
What do you like to cook?
Very good at making a beef bourguignon. If you want a beef bourguignon in a nice cold winter night, like tonight, I can make that for you. Burning the cognac is the most important part.
Speaking of Bananas Foster, one of my favorites, a absolute like family recipe. Burn the cognac.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
The cognac has that nice little.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've experimented actually with burning high alcohol bourbon, and it's also very good.
Really?
Yeah. With various things, as long as it lights. I think over 81.
Yeah, something like over 81 proof or something like that.
And you actually get to test the brand a little bit because there's like, I never knew this before, but you test the validity of the alcohol content by when you burn it. If it burns. Will it burn?
Interesting.
YouTube channel. Put it out there.
Interesting.
Will it burn? But there's people that say it's like 85 and then you burn it and it's like, no, it's 80.
70.
Science.
Yeah. That's interesting. Lucky Henny. Henny's a good cognac.
There it
burns.
is.
It burns
okay.
nice.
It burns.
Yeah.
Let's burn. So cooking. Where was I going with cooking?
I don't know. Cooking. What were we talking about? We're talking about. We got political. We got religious already. We're hitting all the boxes. I don't know. Cooking for me is just therapeutic. It's a process. Helps me get away from Twitter for like 3 hours a day or something like that.
Same. I think that's not where I was going, but I remember where I was going.
All right.
Veganism.
Ooh. Are you
controversial?
Vegan? Are you vegan?
No, I eat everything.
Okay.
Born and raised North Carolina. Every meal growing up was meat. I had meat in it. Never really thought twice about it. Transparently started dating a vegan and got exposed to like a different worldview and have been thinking a lot about that worldview of like, what is life? Where do we break down what is like what is life? Like, how do we understand what is the value of life? Like, if aliens came down, would they eat us? Would we be cool with aliens eating us to get cosmic again? Like, they're a more advanced species.
I do not want to be a galactic cattle, all right?
Me neither. And the sense of empathy overwhelmed me in being like, well, shit. Like, I grew up in a state that had more pigs than people. Like, do I want to be a pig? And it fucked me up. So I don't know. I'm like going through this, like, I love cooking. I love making every ingredient. I love traveling. I love the culture of cooking. Like, I feel like cooking and eating is this universal language that brings us all together. And so I was like talking about this idea of being like this carnivorous being versus a vegan being and this disparity between the two. Like, what is life and where does it break down? And how do you decide, like, is a shrimp deserving of life, or is a cow deserving of life, or is a human deserving of life?
What about a carrot?
Is a carrot deserving of life? Like, I've read about mushrooms communicating with trees. Like, what the fuck? Or like, where does life break down? And like, what can we eat? And are we at a time when we can value life as such? And I like, it goes back to dogmatism. I'm not dogmatic about anything. I'm open to being proven wrong. I'm open to like finding something new, but I always am looking for truth. You know, looking at like Hume talked about it, and way ahead of his time, and fucking like just brilliant and hated and like didn't need any external validation. Like someone who just believed that this is what humans were looking for. They were looking to not need resources, to like be just this like self-sustaining being, and looking for truth is what it all came down to. And that's what I'm looking for. And Yeah, I like to think I get like fucked up every day with truth, and I like love it. So
Well, that's why we're into Bitcoin, because as Seyfedina Moose would argue, Bitcoin is the only the only objective suite of facts that exists in the world.
it feels like truth. It is truth to me.
I mean, it technically is truth if you're defining truth as something SHA-256 hash algorithm per 10 minutes. Like,
I can see it.
it is truth of what happened in the Bitcoin blockchain at a certain point in time, whether or not the intentions of the users of the Bitcoin blockchain are commensurate with the outcome of where their UTXOs end up is another question. But regardless, the Bitcoin blockchain documents what happened within any given block. And so that's been a big theme of the Bent and this podcast recently is, like, I think in modern society, we're becoming detached from reality. And what I like to harp on is in finance and central banking in particular is the tweaking of sort of metrics and projections that are used to define the monetary policy, which end up being completely bullshit in time. And I think that is actually a grave disservice to humanity, because nothing is rooted in truth. It's rooted in, hey, I think this will be this way, and if it doesn't turn out to be this way, I'm gonna recalibrate and project it another way. And hey, if it doesn't hit that projection in the future, I'm just gonna keep recalibrating. And we've gotten to a point where we've recalibrated so much that we're so detached from reality, and again, in the financial world in particular, that we are literally detached from financial reality. Like, the financial world is a bit asinine when you actually understand it.
Yes. Going back, so I met Elizabeth Stark we met up and we're discussing, like, you know, how do we work together? What's the future of Lightning? And seeing all these like commonalities of how we like saw the world, and sort of this like idealism of what the world becomes like with Bitcoin is so exciting. And we went to this party after hanging out, and there's this guy there that like really like he was like a total, he just didn't like, he didn't understand Bitcoin. And I've met a lot of people like this over the years, and I'm like, I never want to like sell someone anything. I just like, I don't believe in it. I'm like, you should come to it on your own research. Like, I don't want to be the person that like sells you something, sells you this ideology. I was sold many ideologies throughout my entire life, and I don't like being sold. What I told him was like, what do you know about money? And what it came to is like, he did not fundamentally understand money.
I would argue that 99% of people do not.
And it's like, how do you encourage somebody? Like I almost think that the biggest education, Bitcoin is not that hard when you relate it to money. Money is so fucking hard to understand,
exactly, and
hard to explain. And it's like, I had to give him a brief lesson of history of money, and then it started to encourage. And I'm just waiting for that text of being like, I earned my first Bitcoin. I shopped at Jet. Like, I bought a toaster and I got my Bitcoin, and I get it. Thank you. And I don't need that validation, but at the same time, it's like, I just want to educate people on what money is, like why it matters. What is, like, how do you own money, and how do you own an asset? Like, going back to what, like the central belief of Bitcoin.
Alex,
how do you give everybody?
Alex, how scary is it that we live in a world of 7.5 billion people, and I would argue conservatively, or excuse me, like liberally, 7.5 billion people.
7.2 don't.
Liberally, 200 million people actually understand Bitcoin. Or not Bitcoin, money, the concept of money, like what money is. People do not understand what money is, and like, I did not understand what money was until I was fucking 22 years old. And then when I understood, I was like, holy fuck. Like, there is no good money on this planet. Like, but I mean, we're already 2 hours and 6 minutes in right now. We could dive down a whole nother rabbit hole. I guess this is where we should end it. But like, how imperative is it that people understand this concept of money, and how Bitcoin plays into the utility of money in particular?
It is the education piece.
Yeah.
You can't tell someone the value of Bitcoin until they understand the value of what they value. And what they value is US dollars, is what they value is Cole's Cash. Like, you gotta tell them what Cole's Cash is. Like, sorry, but like Cole's Cash is not real.
No.
It's controlled by Cole's. And like the US dollar is similarly controlled by the US, which is not, it's an organization that says this is what the currency of the world is based on. Countries all over the world literally have US dollars that are backing their own currency, and we look at Venezuela, we see where that breaks down, and like I am fucking terrified for the next financial crisis because it doesn't look like the last one. It is worse, it is scary, and like when people realize what money actually is and what it's backed by, it is a scary world, and that is what I'm reluctantly waiting for people to finally start valuing our future currency. I believe our future currency is Bitcoin. Plenty of other people would argue with that. I think it's the closest thing that looks like a store of value that can replace gold, and that is what I'm building.
God, we could keep going for hours.
I love it.
Thank you for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for
I'm glad we met. This is great.
I'm glad we met too.
Yeah.
You know, you just get a couple whiskey drinks in you and life starts flowing. But again, like, I don't want to sound like a pompous prick, but like I do worry. Like, people don't understand what money is. And again, I go back to this example a lot. Like, I've asked a lot of people in person, like, when they like come up to me like, oh, Bitcoin's just a Ponzi, like it's a fucking scam. I'm like, all right. Like, I'll just fuck with them. Be like, all right, like what? Like, I'll pull out a $5 bill. Be like, what does this represent? They'll be like, yeah, $5 bill. And I'll be like, all right, like, but what is a $5 bill? Like, it's currency backed by our government. I'm like, not particularly, but like, what backs our currency? And I shit you not, 9 times out of 10, people will say gold. And I'm literally like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, 40 years ago.
90% of, like, this is anecdotal. This is me in my experience. Maybe I'm hanging out with too many dumb people. But 9 times out of 10, people legitimately think our currency is backed by gold. And I have to be like, no, it's not. Like, please look into what money is. And
I actually, I go back to like my Econ classes and I was like, what did I learn? Like, reading the Bitcoin Standard, which I literally send to every client, like retailers everywhere. I hope to be the biggest buyer of that book ever, because I think it's the best book out there that exists to educate people, not just on Bitcoin, on money.
History of money.
And it's like, if you argue with me on what money is, read it. Like, read other, like, it's biased. You know, it clearly is like leading up to like, oh, well, money is shitty. Like, let's believe that something else should exist. I get that. But Bitcoin is the first thing that convinced me that like gold, currency, everything is flawed, and that the closest thing that looks like to the future is Bitcoin. And I send it to everybody. I believe in it. I think everybody should understand the value of what money is. It literally connects us all. Like, better than WhatsApp, better than anything, it is like the thing that keeps us together.
It is the biggest social contract that exists.
Yes.
Literally, money is one half of every transaction. And like,
oh, that's good.
Right, this is the last topic. But like, how fucked up is it? Like, money is so pervasive in pop culture. More money, more problems. Like, money, money, money. Get money, get money. But nobody understands what the fuck it is. Like, that is the most ironic thing in the world to me. Like, that is literally what drives pop culture, is money, 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 money. And nobody knows what it is. We have drank 3/4 of the bottle of Iron Smoke straight bourbon whiskey. Alex, it's been an incredible conversation.
It's been good.
Do you have any parting words for the freaks out there?
Oh, man. Thank you for being a part of this movement. I think like people who are I think you are at the forefront of like educating people on this space of like making it accessible. We need people talking about this. So thank you.
We need more literate people talking about it. We need people who can explain it better than I can. So if you're out there, raise your hand.
Yeah. This has been awesome. Thank you for having me.
Alex, thanks for coming on, man. Pump what you guys are doing with Lolli. If you guys haven't checked it out, lolli.co.
.com.
.com. Lolli.co. Lolli.com/ref/TFTC.
Yeah.
That is our ref link. Thank you for building what you're building. Thank you for joining the front lines of Bitcoin. Again, do you have a parting note for anybody other than...
I encourage you to share it with your friends. I think that probably most of the listeners clearly believe what we believe. The future, I think, looks like Bitcoin. I think that the biggest thing is like we reward people for sharing. It's like we want people to share this with their friends. Like I needed something to share with my sister, my mom, my dad, my friends from back home, and I built Lolli for that. And like I encourage you, like even if you're not a big online shopper, use Lolli, download it, share your link, earn Bitcoin, real Bitcoin. Like this, it's not just sharing your ideology with people. It's sharing Lolli, sharing this idea with people. And as soon as people have skin in the game, as soon as people own actual Bitcoin, I think they'll be like me, and I think they'll start to believe.
I like that mindset. I love that mindset. Alex, you've got me the drunkest I've been in a while on this podcast. I appreciate that.
Takes two.
Where can we find you on Twitter? At Alex Adelman?
At Alex Adelman, and then at Try Lolli.
At Try Lolli. Adelman.
Yes.
I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name.
All good.
Alex, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Marty.
Check out Lolli. Full disclosure, I'll disclose this in the pre-roll ads, but sponsor the pod now. Thank you for coming on.
Big supporter. I believe in what you're doing.
I believe in what you're doing, and that's like literally the only type of advertiser I'll partner with is somebody who...
Game recognizes game.
Game recognizes game is the perfect way to describe it. Freaks, if you're liking this, subscribe, rate, review. Go check out Lolli. Download it. Seriously, try it. If you're using Amazon every day, why not try out Lolli, make some Bitcoin? I mean... Prime's cool, but it's sort of fetch right now.
And you can get everything that you would get at Amazon on Walmart, on Jet, on Overstock. And eventually, Amazon will join us if we drive enough sales to these other partners. And yeah, we're talking with Amazon.
I'm gonna pull a Matt Odell right now too. We're at the bottom of a bear market. Like this is the time to accumulate Bitcoin. All right.
Every bit counts.
Every Satoshi counts. Start stacking sats, freaks. Alex, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you, freaks, for listening. Peace and love.
Peace and love.